Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tarkov. I'm the Ear League athlete here with.
Hey, Dizzle.
We've got a lot to go over this week, from the new Labyrinth event to the new patch 16.5 update. So let's get right into it. So, I guess first and foremost, how's the event treating you? I know we've done a few raids together, but we've also done a few apart, and the ones we've done together haven't really been together because one of us dies before we can actually clear everything and get together and start looting and doing stuff.
Yeah,
And
we
that's
have
pretty much
not
how it's
made it in
been.
there. Yeah, we haven't made it in there together once. Like, one of us die each time. Like, that's just the way it has to be, I guess.
Yeah, only one may enter.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm loving the event. I really am. I know everyone's, hyping it up and saying best event ever, but
I think
seriously,
that's
this
pretty
is
true.
probably the best event. Yeah, this is the best event.
The only other
The
one that
most
I
in
would say,
depth.
yeah, the only other comparable one would be the Halloween Zerachi event.
Yeah, the zombie. Well, yeah, that one too.
Well,
I like the zombie event too.
zombie event was pretty cool. Yeah, that's true. They have been the last few events have been pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Even Koravad or Horavad, like it wasn't bad. It was a solid little
No, no,
event. But yeah, this one just takes the cake above and
it
beyond.
does. It does.
It's the whole labyrinth idea, building off of the Greek mythology, and then having like this Minotaur style Tagila in there. It's so cool, and it's actually
Well,
like setting that fear factor back in for Tarkov because like we've
yeah,
got some
yeah.
hours in the game, so it's like there's really even cultists aren't like frightening like they used to be. Now it's like you hear that tequila coming around the corner and voice lining and mooing at you and like getting ready to
Yeah, it's creepy.
charge. Yeah, it's sketchy. And there's just a bunch of like cool ambient noises in there, and like the color looks really good. It was just really well done. They went above and beyond on this one, I think,
You can tell they put a lot of work into it. A lot of thought went into it. Just a lot of time and effort.
for
Um,
sure.
and I feel like that's why we didn't see any events up until now, because they've been working on this for so long.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's 100% worth it.
Well, and if this was the planned February event, I can see why it got pushed back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's a lot
100%.
of little things to try to work in for this, and a lot of like situating. I would assume. So you go to Shoreline. Well, you have a task line first, right? You go to Ground Zero,
Yeah,
do a
yeah,
couple things. You make it to like a few other maps with playground, streets, interchange, back to Ground Zero, Shoreline, and then you go find the key, and then you go get the you go past the main door and go down to see the labyrinth entrance, and you're like, oh, okay, this is here. And then you get your key cards to enter, and then you go in finally. And
yeah,
you go in even as a group, and it splits you up. It puts you in your own little puzzle room. I remember the first time we loaded in, I was
yeah,
streaming.
yeah,
So I had a little bit of help, which I mean, they didn't spoil anything. They didn't like go out of the
no,
way and
no,
say over
no.
here, over
Just a
here. They were
couple
just
small
like,
hints.
yeah,
Couple
like
small hints. Yeah,
look
nothing
for a
major.
key, look for an item, things like that. But you got stuck in like the worst possible starting
Yeah,
zone for being going
yeah.
in blind, like without any
The
information.
shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I walk through
You're
that
just
doorway,
like,
not even
I'm
seeing the
dead.
shotgun traps. Yeah, and I just die. I'm just like, what? I'm like, how did I die? Because I heard gunshots, and I'm like, there was no
Yeah.
one there. I was like, who shot me? And then I'm sitting there looking at my death screen. I'm like, it just says I died. I'm like, how? Sitting there trying to figure it out.
Right. And you had died first. I had barely like
Yeah,
moved around my room much because I hadn't even found the first key to unlock the door to go get the item to do the thing. So
yeah,
I'm
because it
sitting
was
there
me, you,
thinking
and
the whole
Middle.
time, like I see steam in front of me. I have no idea other than the slight details you'd given me. And yeah, me and Middle were both just like, what do we do? Like, are we going to get shot? Are there traps? Like, we're looking for tripwires. We're fucking checking every doorway. We're doing this, that, and the other. Like, just so much like added stress to it. And that was just to get into the labyrinth. That's technically like it is the labyrinth, right? But that's just like the starting zone. That's just like, hey, solve this puzzle, then go deal with the shit. Uh,
Yeah, because it's a transition. So from Shoreline, you have to transition to Labyrinth. Like it's pretty cool how they did it.
yeah,
And that's we were talking about that before, like using transitions. This is a cool way to use transitions to have secret maps that you can only get to from like a
from
certain transition
transitioning.
spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
I would not
But
to break off of the event, but I would like to see. I think that would be really cool and a really good way to flesh out some of the more in depth lore side of Tarkov is to add some of these random bunkers that you can only get to through transitioning to them, and you have to find like certain keywords and notes and like little secrets to let you even know where to go, what door to look at. because outside of them putting that sign that said Nosos next to the door, like there's not any
Right.
obvious indication of where to go. You know, it's like the task even says just go to all the places you just were and look around. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. They
but like it,
definitely kept it Tarkov with the no hints.
but it would be cool to see more stuff like that. They could expand into like some of the underground lab territories and stuff like that, and just or terror group
Well,
territories and things. They could do a lot.
if
They
you
could.
remember, if you remember, there's some lore that goes with like the underground being like a travel point for cultists.
Yeah,
That's like some of the actual like Tarkov lore. And
yeah.
then if you notice down like in reserve, some of the bunkers in reserve, there's like cultist symbols. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up, making this big underground like cultist network, and they
Well,
probably,
that's
open
so.
up a few new places like that.
I don't want to go too in depth because we do still plan to do the lore episode, right? But
Yeah.
there's so all that is above ground of Tarkov that we know. Terra Group has underground tunnels and labyrinths and all these things underneath, and depots and just like other laboratories and like all this stuff underground. Apparently built by Nosos, but they have all that, and somehow or another, cultists are tied into that, and they access those tunnels and they use them to move
Yeah.
around Tarkov.
Yeah.
And then the shoreline resort is actually, which is kind of made sense why they chose to do it there. Where when the event happened, when the EMP went off, Lab or Terra Group said, "Get all of our employees, take them to the resort, post them up there so they can still work." So it's cool to think that like right underneath where all the Terror Group guys were, all these crazy things were happening below them, and like just like there's
Right.
this network of things going on. Like, but it's really cool. It's really interesting, and there's so much more to talk about on that topic when we get to the lore side of it. But like that's just kind of like a
Yeah.
bare bones of what's going on and why it kind of makes sense for these things to be here. To the
Yeah.
average player that doesn't know these things, it might seem like, why would they just put this here? Blah blah blah. It's like, but no, there's a legitimate reason
Yeah,
for
there's
it.
a reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's the thing is they've been putting little things in for so long that have not been used yet, but I feel like are set up for future updates. Um
yeah,
you go on Woods and you look at all the bunkers on Woods, even the one up on like the Sniper Rock, it's got cultist symbols. If you go down in that little bunker
yeah.
where like the Bitcoin spawn sometimes, it's got cultist symbols all through there right by that door. I feel like eventually those doors are going to get opened up to where you can use, some of those bunkers to go places. And I just feel like they've been setting that up for a while, and eventually we're going to get that. The
Yeah,
future, I think expansions are going to have a lot to do with Underground.
yeah, I think so. That would be cool too. So like if you were going to transit from reserve to the woods, right? Or not even necessarily reserve to woods. Say you just want to transit and you're using the transit system. Well, you could go to these bunkers even and transit into these little, like the labyrinth situation, and just be in an entirely different raid doing the thing. It would just be a really cool way, like a in between point, but there's stuff to do in that in
Yeah.
between point. Like I'm making my way to resort or making my way to lighthouse or whatever, and I got to get through. Since I'm transitioning, I'm using the network of tunnels or whatever the thing may be, and there's different bosses or different enemies or different things to clear, and just like I could see him expanding on that system a lot, and
Right.
just using it in some pretty cool ways. Again, like we're not the developers, we don't know exactly what they want to do or anything like that, but just generating ideas for what could be cool. Yeah, I think
Yeah, it looks like
using
they're they're setting that
those
up.
bunkers for some transit stuff to have things like this happen, like because that's the other side of it too, is they want to find a way to make Labyrinth permanent.
Yeah, that's what Trent had said.
So that would be, they said they were looking
I
for a way
think
to make it better. So it's like,
yeah, I think what at least what I took by that was I think what they're saying is that this is the event version of Labyrinth. I think it'll kind of get a small rework as a permanent location. Um, Obviously it'll probably lose some of the quest and some of the things that are tied to the event alone,
the
but it'll
loot
probably
will
be
get
like
dialed back a good bit.
yeah, the loot get, but it'll probably get some new stuff, that just become permanent. Would be my guess.
Yeah, because again, lore wise, the area that we're in ties in perfectly with the cultist in the story, and a lot of it in that one room, the nuke room, or the EMP room, I would assume, which we're not getting into all that. Anyways, it kind of says like, or it kind of shows a nod to the books, and like, yeah, we know that that's not supposed to be here. We know that these things would be going on down here, even though this is like an event labyrinth to fight Tagila. They still chose to make it relative to the lore, which is
Right.
really cool that they keep things so tightly connected. And again, it just goes to say they have built such an amazing, awesome world that we enjoy playing in, that things like this can be added and it makes sense. Granted, like, yeah, Labyrinth to Gila is a little far fetched or whatever. Like parts of it, sure, but
Right.
that's the event. Just like zombies on labs, but we got residential room out
Exactly.
of it, you know? So it's like,
Right.
and exploding canisters. Who doesn't
Yeah.
love those?
But it's like a lot of people, I feel like whenever they add things like this or they do small events, majority of the people don't notice anything about the lore, don't notice anything about the connections or anything about them staying true to, what's already been put out there.
Yeah,
And that's another cool thing about BSG is they never stray far away from, what they've already given us information wise.
right.
It's like everything adds up, everything makes sense, and most people have no clue about that and will never will. But that's just the attention to detail that they usually provide whenever they do anything. And it just lets you know that there's a future, there's more stuff coming. Like
Exactly.
this is all like a drawn out, thought out story, and it's like they keep putting things in place to expand that story. Yeah, and with the transition thing with the underground, it's like they could make it to where since you're using a tunnel, you could transition from map to another map that aren't necessarily connected because you're
Right.
using an underground. So you could technically,
You
move the
can get it
places quicker.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it opens up so many possibilities. Um, and like we said, it goes with everything they've already put out. It's really cool to see everything coming together, and I
It
feel
is.
like it's something that eventually is gonna just it's gonna open up a whole nother way like to play Tarkov.
Well, and if you remember, Nikita has said that 1.0 gameplay and the loop and the mechanic, or not mechanics, but the system that we play in and the tasking and
Right.
everything, that he didn't necessarily say unrecognizable, but he said it would be a whole new Tarkov.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I could see him absolutely prepping a bunch of stuff similar to this, and making the transit system more involved and more in depth, and utilizing some of that lore that has been, kind of tucked away in a vault, I guess, locked
Right.
underground. Um, but there's like so many really cool aspects to the lore that are already tied into the game and already fit into the game. That, like you were saying earlier, it does show that there's a future, and it does show that
Yeah.
there's a reason for the things they do, and like the timeline that they do them in, and like in the way that things are being done. But yeah, just the fact that everything is tied together. Like I never expected to go into this event and see something like the nuke room and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Something
know
that's
I know
been
what that's
rumored for so
about."
long, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And how
Yeah.
long
It
have
just
we all talked about, the EMP and all this stuff? And are they going to do another one? Are they going to, what are the cultist
yeah,
plans? It's
years
just like you get a
ago.
little insight as to what's going on.
Yeah, years ago stuff like that was hinted, and then you finally see it come to fruition now, which is just it's wild because most games don't do that. You know what I mean? Most games do not drag, the story out and actually make everything happen. It's like usually if a game comes out, you'll get one or two DLCs, the game's done, it's over. Like you have everything, within a 2 year, 3 year period max. It's just crazy. Tarkov is still putting out new content, but it's not like new content they just made to get money. It's stuff that's been planned forever. Like all this stuff has been like in the works for a
Yeah.
long time, and
Yeah.
it's just you don't get that with many other games, if any.
No. And I know we've said it
But yet,
before. The depth of Tarkov is
yeah,
almost incomprehensible. It's like we see what they've already done too, and we think about what's coming, but we think about that on a pretty limited scale. Oh, new guns, maybe a new map, new this, but we don't consider things like Labyrinth. We don't consider things like lore based activities or interactions or locations or why those things are put there, why the cultist would be on this spot over this spot. Like, there's like a lot of little ads that get put into the game that tie the story together that much more. And it's so overlooked by the masses of the community, which is fine. That's okay. It's not. We're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
it's
you guys
expected.
don't know the
We're conditioned.
lore. Like it's
We're conditioned for that in gaming. Like that's what we're
right.
conditioned for.
Yeah, and you don't know the lore unless you look for the lore, and you don't know that there's 3 books that are written by Alexander. I'm not going to butcher his last name. Middle, if you could flash the books up, I'll get that to you.
Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton, yeah. But no, it's like Kutrovich or something like that. But yeah, nobody knows that. There's a handful of Tarkov players that know about the books. I've played Tarkov with people that didn't even know about the Raid movie. I've
Right.
played Tarkov with people that don't even know about the Rizzy series, and that's like they're like, hey, look at this. Like, this is what we do. We're putting this out there for everybody, and there's still people that play the game that don't know about it. So it's like, I don't fault anyone ever for not knowing about this very niche bit of lore and like why the Terra Group Labs is this, or what the UN peacekeepers and the missions that we do for the UN have anything to do with Tarkov at all. There's no UN faction. Like, there's so much baked into the game that is
Yeah.
so tightly tied to the story of Tarkov that it's there's a lot of
It's
things
one
that
of a
don't make
kind.
sense when you start playing the game that make sense after you learn the lore, but it is a one of a kind experience, and it's like a lot of it is put out there for you. It's I'm trying to find the way of saying, like, it's a beautiful balance of, like, or not a beautiful, but a perfect balance of, like, here's the information in front of you, but you still have to look for it. It's like there's a lot to be learned just from reading the task dialogue, but yet
Yeah.
you can learn so much more if you go further in depth with it. Like if you start watching the movies and start finding out who the characters are, and then reading the books and
Everything means something, and they give you enough to get an idea without
yeah,
like spoiling it. Like
yeah,
I think the biggest thing, most games, if they put something new out, it's something that's like relatively limited. It's been thought of, you know, middle of the game. Like they needed something new for the game, so they thought of something to add, or they knew this was hot, so they're like, everyone's loving
yeah,
this right now. Let's put this in, and it's like that's how most games work, and that's how most people are conditioned to think about games. It's like, oh, they added a new map or they got new guns, and that's like the extent that it goes.
yeah,
But with Tarkov, it's like they've had this stuff playing forever, and the fact that they're following through, because there's been so many things in the past that have been talked about, and everyone's like, well, I guess they're not doing that anymore. Well, with BSG, you don't know because
right,
they got so much stuff like in the oven that's just been cooking in the background, and you just don't know when they're going to add it. And I'm starting to see more and more that it's almost as if they're going to put everything in, and it's just
right,
they're just waiting for the right time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like everything they've ever said that was coming, it feels like it is, because it's like I've been surprised by the amount of stuff that is just like been like linked to things they've said in the past, and it's been things that were rumored in the past, and it's stuff that's became true. And
yeah.
I'm just
I,
like I said, I'm shocked because most games don't operate like that. Most
it's like
games
you
are
put
like,
your tinfoil
yeah,
hat on, and then it all starts to come off because it's making too
yeah,
much
yeah,
sense.
it does. But it's that's I think there's this thing with Tarkov. We always try to we try to explain, like, when it comes to differences and it comes to like the originality and
Yeah,
the just how unique Tarkov is. And it's
right.
like this is one of those things. It's just having information out there that could have been put out there for no reason whatsoever, but it's not. It's everything they've put out seems to be in line with what they're either going to do or what they're going to eventually tie into the game itself somehow, some way. And it's just, for developers these days, you just don't see that. You really do not see that. You
No,
putting how many years now into a game, and they could have called it done. They could have called it 1.0 so long ago,
right.
and started something else. But
Which
the
is
fact that they're just sticking with it
yeah,
is just it's insane. Like, it
it
really
is
is.
insane, and it's
It's
crazy to
rare.
think that we've been told multiple times and expecting that when 1.0 does release, there are going to be so many things added and brought to the game, and
Yeah.
things that they've been holding and sitting on and waiting to add, and it's just like that it's going to be different from what we're used to a point that they would call it a whole new Tarkov. not in
Yeah.
gameplay sense, not in visual sense, but just
Well,
in like things
Nik-
added, things to do, and it may be in gameplay sense. He like he
I was gonna
said,
say
they
Nikita's exact quote was
different
just how
ways to play
people
game modes and stuff.
well, he said just how people all like hopped on the extraction shooter bandwagon. He said their next way to play Tarkov is going to be another thing that everyone's going to want to copy
Hell
because
yeah,
it's going to be, another genre that they're going to spawn. So basically, yeah, it sounds like a whole new way to play. You know what I mean? And that was his
yeah,
exact
and
words.
yeah, that's true. He
Um,
has said, and he has said just that too. A whole new way to play Tarkov,
yeah,
a new game
yeah,
mode.
and he said people it's going to blow up and people are going to want to copy it. And he said it's just going to be extraction shooter all over again.
I think it's going
So
to be something akin to the transition system, and I think that we might not be too far off with thinking like you transit from Shoreline, you go to Labyrinth, you clear Labyrinth, you go to the next map, and then make it like a progression based. Like, sure, you have a way out, you can extract just like you can in Labyrinth, or you can continue and you can get better rewards, better gear, better rewards, better gear. And like just see
right.
how long you can survive. What do they call it? It's like the Mortal Kombat, like you fight until you die, right? You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, something like I could see something like that. But that's the thing too is with Tarkov and the way that it plays currently and the systems they have in place, I could see a lot of different things going on. Um, and I'm sure that while somebody may have guessed closely, or even I may have just now guessed closely, right? Like that's the thing about Tarkov is it could be anything, and that's what I was
Yeah.
getting ready to say is that it's just so in depth and the systems play out so well in so many different directions that it could go a lot of different ways, and it could be something completely different than what anyone has even considered. Um, so it's
Yeah.
exciting to think that there's something that we couldn't even start to process and put together of how it would work, right? Like what have they thought up that is
Yeah.
coming
Because
with 1.0 that we aren't expecting, that we aren't ready to, like, it's so new and so just a new genre.
well, that's the thing. They've given us so much information, but they've also left enough mystery to where it's like it could be anything. Like at this point, it's like I would not be surprised, no matter what they do, because it's just I expect the unexpected with them. But I also expect them to keep it tied into what we know.
Yeah, it'll stay
And
relative to
if
the universe, and it'll stay within the universe, or the world, I should say.
what and say what you want about Battle State Games and Nikita, if there's anything that you could say, it's they know how to make a game. They know how to make a event. They know how to make interesting things. And it's like there's a
They
reason
are,
a
yeah,
small company like them have been, in the gaming industry for this long and this popular. And it's like
correct.
they're doing something right. And I have faith in them to keep doing it right.
Yeah,
Um, they've proven time and time again that they're not taking the easy way out. They could have so long ago, and they haven't. And I feel like they Nikita especially, they care for this game and they love this game and they want to make it as good as it can be,
right.
because you don't get this without some real like passion and some real like uh
Think of all the lows. You know what I mean? Think of all the times that the
yeah,
game could have
yeah,
died with any other developer. Think of the times like Unheard come out, they could have let that ruin them. They could have let several things, the cheating situation, RMT. There's been enough things happen in Tarkov that had the player base like up in arms that I could see any other developer handling it poorly, doing the wrong thing, taking the
yeah,
wrong steps,
yeah,
and letting the
getting
game fall off.
yeah, getting your feelings hurt because it's something you've worked so hard on and care so much about, and then having the community trash you and trash it, like that would be something that would be hard to like stick with. And it's
That's
like
true too. Yeah.
you know that sometimes they had to feel like, is this even worth it?
Nikita's
Um,
resolve is through the roof. And BSG
yeah,
in general, just those guys over there, because to make something and have it bashed and trashed and shit talked all the way down, all the way through, and for you to stand on your fucking business and stick to your guns and build that game through to 1.0 and beyond. I mean,
yeah,
that takes some resolve. That's
it
solid.
does,
Because a lot of
it does.
developers and a lot of studios would be like, no, 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 we can't have the players mad. Let's give them that battle pass, give them those skins, give them this, give them that, make it easier, make this. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, if this was owned by
it's
a
awesome to see.
major studio slash publisher, we would not have what we have, and it would have been put on the shelf a long time ago. Um, and before that, it would have been destroyed with all these battle passes and loot boxes, and I mean, like, especially in gaming today, that's the other thing. like not only could they have given up on the game, but they could have took the easy way to cash out and just make some money, call it quits,
Yeah.
make some money, and restart. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is what a lot of people do. They'll get rid of the whole development company and just start a new company or start a whole new like studio. And it's like that happens so often. And
Yeah.
just the fact that we give so many people shit when they do it, we also need to recognize when they don't do it because they didn't do it. And it's like that says something. At least to me, it does.
Yeah, they've been here for 8, 9 years now, and just going strong, sticking to their guns, doing what's right by the game, doing what they feel is the right choices, making some bad decisions along the way, but fixing it and being good with
Yeah.
the community. And yeah, I don't see any other developer, at least major developer, doing it, because there are some really good studios and developers out there, right? Like
Yeah,
absolutely.
there's good
Uh,
studios, but I still would put Tarkov
when we say
above.
things like this, we mean like AAA studios for the most part,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
big developers that just wash out the same shit, rinse and repeat.
And like people say, the bigger the studio gets and the
Ooh.
more corporate they get, obviously you lose the ability to focus on gameplay and making a good game because eventually it turns to shareholders and
Right.
making money to provide for the people that invested in your company. Um, so it's like that. Once companies get captured into that, it's easy to lose your vision and lose what made you popular in the beginning. And Tarkov has somehow avoided that. Because I guarantee you they've had so many people,
Oh,
offering
a
them,
hundred percent.
buyouts and partnerships, and
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's amazing to me that it's still Battlestate Games. It's still you know a smaller studio in Russia that is doing majority of the work.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um,
That's really cool, and it is impressive.
but yeah, and just to cap everything off with I just when this game did come out, say 9 years ago, I feel like the biggest thing that sets it apart is I think all the stuff that we're getting now was already planned.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
all this has been planned.
yeah. I
I
think
don't
we're
think
seeing previous
they've,
options.
yeah, I don't think they've altered anything for any reason except for PVE. Obviously, PVE was
Yeah,
a plan, so I feel like that did set some things back because they have to make the game playable for both versions now. But they're doing that, which is, once
right. They
again,
just
that's
put a
instead of
small
them,
small team together to work
yeah,
on PVE now. Yeah,
right, find a way to do it. So that might have set some things back. But at the same time, sticking to your vision for that many years through the highs and the lows, it's just to me it's I can't think of another studio, another game with the same passion and the same dedication.
yeah.
I mean, there's games out there that have lasted this long, but just to have the same vision from start to finish and still working on that vision, I
Right,
just can't think of
right.
another one.
When you can count the minor upsets that a company has had in 9 years, and to still be going strong like they are, you've got something good, and you can count them on one hand too, right? I can't think of more
Absolutely.
than like one or two things that would genuinely like really push players away, but they've continued to just stick with it and bust it out and get it done the right way, and the story
Yeah.
is developing the way it should, and yeah, I think like you said, I think we're looking at stuff being released and given to us that's been planned for a while, and because they're on a further ahead build than us anyways, so they're
Yeah.
they're working on stuff that we won't see for a little while, right? So I could see it that we are only seeing things that have been ready and been prepped, and that's the other side of that too, is like how many guns do you think that they have on the ready to go, like
Oh,
weapons,
tons.
armors, ammos, make backpacks, outfits, this that, like I would imagine that they are like stockpiled on all these different things to be added into the game,
Right.
it,
Because they
and
have to
then
balance it. They want new stuff to be
right,
available with 1.0. They don't want us to get everything. So it's like,
yeah.
I imagine we've been getting a small percentage of what they have. You know what I mean?
Outside of like the AK-50 with Brandon Herrera and all that stuff going on, like them, making that kind of came out of the blue. But when something like that happens and your studio is so into guns and just everything
Right. It
around
makes sense.
guns, like yeah, of course you're gonna get out of your way and add that in. But everything
Yeah.
else, like the a bunch of the new weapon systems, things like that, I just I don't think it's a matter of why aren't they giving it to us? They don't have it ready, this, that, or the other, and it's more just like they're holding on and making us wait for 1.0 when the game's actually out. But yeah,
And
it is.
1.0 is coming pretty soon. I think you can tell that by just they didn't lie when they said once we hit Unity 2022, we're going to be able to work much faster. That was not a lie, because if you look at just what they've been doing over the last month, like update after update after update, like it's just been like they put out the key case and people were complaining I can't put it in my items cases. I can't put it in. Within a day they had it fixed. Like
Yeah,
that's how
it
fast
goes
they're
in thick
working right
cases
now.
and items cases.
Yeah,
And then
it's just
we had patch
it's wild.
16.2 or late sometime last week, and then early this week we wake up to patch 16.5 in the
Yeah,
Labyrinth
yeah,
event.
within a few days of each other. I think it was
Um,
within a 4 days, like within 4 days we had two patches, which is just it just goes to show you how close we are to a finished product. I think
yeah,
most of this stuff is already ready to go, and they're just doing the best they can as far as touching up the optimization that they can and the bugs, and it's like they're trying to, I feel like, put it in the put it where it's ready for 1.0. Just that's the main focus, and just by the speed of everything happening, you can see it's in the best place it's ever really been in.
yeah.
um
Well, performance wise, outside of server connectivity and just like a few connection issues and things like that, performance wise, it performs better than ever.
yeah,
Um, Balancing wise, the game feels really smooth. I think the some of the ammo and armor system stuff is going to take a little bit more time to continue to flush out entirely, especially since we did the whole armor rework and armor change and like just getting
right,
penetrations right, because it is a lot. You got to think of like server side things and then just game code things. Like there's a lot going on to determine what's going to penetrate, over penetrate, not penetrate, what's going to, rip off your arm. Like there's a lot of mathematics going on there. There's a lot of
yeah, a whole
processes
lot.
going on there. There's a lot of everything. And then all that has to be sent from your computer and that person's computer and everyone else in that raid's computer to the server to BSG. Like there's just it's a lot of back and forth and it's a lot going on. So like
Yeah,
of course those things are gonna have problems, and like to
well,
say that
and
that makes the game
fixing or
not ready for
adjusting.
1.0 is absurd considering the amount of games that come out and are far more broken than Tarkov is in its current
Yeah,
state. Um, yeah,
well,
I
that's
I
what I was gonna
just
say. Fixing or adjusting things like that are things that can be done after, even after 1.0 hits.
yeah
That's
yeah. There's
the
always
main
gonna be
system
balancing.
is yeah, the main system is so complete that things like that, which is it just, like you were saying, it just there's a lot there, but it's not enough to say the game's not ready.
Right.
It's such a complex game. There's always going to be just so much stuff that has to
Yeah.
be tweaked and fixed. And you
And
think
this
about
this
tweaking
thing's gonna
one
over.
number.
Right.
Well, yeah, you tweak one number on an armor system, or a penetration system, or just an ammo system that has different stats for each bullets and different abilities, and it gives you different perks, and it's like you got so much going on there that it's always going to be a thing that's just constantly getting fixed, just due to community, just due to what they're hearing, especially with Tarkov
Right.
communities.
Yeah.
Now you can report stuff so fast and get it tweaked, and
Yeah.
we're just in a great spot for things like that to get resolved quick.
But yeah, like the audio reworks that have happened lately in the with the engine update, audio's great, performance is solid, visually it looks stunning. Let's see,
Which
gameplay
I will say
loop
this.
wise, the mechanics of it and everything run smooth. There are a couple hiccups, but again, easily fixed and reported. And there's always going to be little hiccups and things that go wrong. Like I can't think of a system in the game that's completely just like, oh, this has to be fixed before 1.0.
Right.
I think
The
everything's
only
at a
thing I
point
would
of like
think
you could
of
tweak it a little bit.
would be they got to get the audio fix where it doesn't completely go out.
Yeah, that's
Um,
still an issue. Did you
they had
report?
it fixed, not
Just
yet,
so
but
they
they
know
had it
that it's
fixed, and it must have came back with this last update, because on my last raid last night, I lost audio down in the
well, it
labyrinth,
it
which is the
hasn't been
last
fixed.
place.
It's happened
Which
to
is
me
the last
several
place.
times between the patches.
Well, didn't they have it fixed where when it did go out, it would come right back? Because I had
It
it happen a few times.
Well, yeah, but it was still
That
cutting out. Yeah. Yeah, but
Right, but
most
that
of
was
the
the first
time
time
it
I've had
still
it
comes
stay
back.
out. Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
first time
you had
I've
to
had it stay
reset,
out
right?
since the original. Yeah, I had to reset my game. I had to reboot. Um, but yeah, that's the first time I've had that completely just stay out since they put the patch notes out that said they fixed it. I had instances where it would go out for sometimes 10 seconds, sometimes a minute, but it would always come back.
Yeah.
Um, but that's if there was anything that I would just say, it's like audio is so important in this game. It's like I just feel like
Yeah, that can't happen,
somehow,
especially on
some
the
way,
PvP side. That would drive me
right,
nuts.
that has to be fixed. Yeah, that has to, which I have complete faith that they will get it fixed, and I have
Yeah.
complete faith that it'll be fast, just because of how everything's been going, just because of the communication that they have now with everybody is just it's above and beyond anything else. Like they're doing great things when it comes to communication.
And then inside of the gameplay loop, outside of marked rooms not having great, like, crazy loot again, which whatever the reasons may be or whatever. Outside of that, like, the looting feels good again. You feel rewarded when you kill things. Like it things are in probably the best place, I would say.
Yeah,
I've seen them in Tarkov. I think now is closer than ever. Which you could say that tomorrow and the next day, right? We're closer than ever. But like
right,
on a scale of year to year, is this the year for 1.0? I think this is the year for 1.0. I think that we
right.
are right there. I think we're on the cusp, like you said. Um,
When you just look at everything as an overall, yes,
right.
this is by far the most ready the game has been for release.
And with me saying that, I'm saying I also don't think it'll be a year from now before we get 1.0. I think within this calendar year we will see 1.0. I would
We
assume
can speak to that too. There was a little hint.
that's true. Oh yeah, you're
Um,
right. Yeah,
yeah. Not only has Nikita had Q2 2025 pinned on his Twitter account for about a year now,
right.
um, we also got uh, one of the devs. I don't want to say the name because I can't remember. Let me pull it up here. I think it was Dimitri.
Dimitri. Yeah.
He had mentioned to pay close attention to Tegila's scythe weight, the Shadow of Tegila, his melee weapon, because normally Tegila's melee weapon, his hammer, is 1.4 kilograms.
Yep.
So this is, let's see, I can't find the page now.
It is 19.0.80.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what that reads out to is the 19th of August,
yes,
0819. And we know Q2 2025. We also were just told to look at that scythe weight, and kind of deduce what that means. If I've ever
yeah,
seen
because
a correlation of two things to kind of leak something,
yeah,
the signs are there. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
August
he put that out there
19th
for a reason.
and
Like,
Nikita saying for the last year, Q2 2025. Like,
yeah, because not only did Nikita say it, like I said, it's been pinned on his Twitter. It's his top
yeah,
post. Anytime you go to his Twitter, it's pinned as his
Q2
top post.
2025.
He posted that on December 2024. So,
Yeah, 6 months, but still,
it's
yeah.
yeah, been a while. But the weight, if his hammer's normally only 1.4, and now they bumped this thing up to 11, or what was it, 19? 19.8.
19.08. Yep.
So yeah, that's okay. That's
That's
damn near
yeah.
16 times the normal weight of his hammer. So they've done
Yeah.
that for a reason. There's a
That's a
reason that weight is
20
there.
kilo scythe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And just because it's
I
heavy
would pay
doesn't mean you die
attention.
faster either. You still get hit the normal amounts, trust me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think it's just a
It
nod.
obviously it means something. Yeah, it means
Yeah.
something.
And for Dimitri to come out and be like, "Hey, look at this," and
Yeah.
then
Why
just
would you say that?
yeah, putting things together, context clues. We all play Tarkov. We all know like when's wipe soon. Yeah.
Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah. So August 19th is a Thursday. If it's not, it will be. So just be ready. But no,
I'm
seriously
looking
though,
now.
it seems to correlate close enough and together. Like
Oh,
why leak that
August
if not
19th
is a
is a
Sunday?
Tuesday.
Tuesdays happen too,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it
Still
will be a
starts with a
Thursday.
T.
Don't worry. So yeah, speaking on patch stuff, there were some pretty cool things that happened in the patch notes. I'm gonna jump down to the balancing and added new crafting recipes at the intelligence center zone in the hideout. Well, we got the key case first and foremost. That thing's awesome. It
Yeah,
holds
yeah,
key
very good.
tools and key card holders. It holds key cards and it holds keys. It is 2x3, and I can't remember how many slots inside, but it's pretty massive. Goes in thick cases, goes in items cases, and it is an awesome ad. I've already gotten rid of 6 docs cases, threw all my keys and key tools and threw them in there, labeled them by map. Yeah, and it's just, granted, you could also just throw keys loosely in there and still have all kinds of space too. I think you could probably get 4 or 5 docs cases worth, if not more, in there. I can't remember exactly the size, but yeah, it's substantially large. It's really cool. 500K from Therapist. Such a good ad. I'm so glad to see it. Supposedly available from level 1 and level 2 trader or therapist. So at the start of wipe, you can even get your hands on one, maybe after a task unlock. So that'll be really cool to have that, especially after wipe. You're starting out, you're starting to collect every single freaking key. It'll just be a nice way to keep everything organized, and not necessarily organized, but together. Because how often, especially early wipe, before you're getting docs cases and all this stuff, are you just like putting keys in rigs or backpacks and then setting that backpack in a backpack and stacking it away somewhere and then
Yeah,
forgetting about it, and then you
I always have
start another stack of
so
keys?
many rigs
Yeah.
that are just dedicated to keys.
Yeah, so it's like that'll be such a great way to filter through and just keep everything at least together. Um, but yeah, other than that, the really cool thing that they did was a lot of things actually. This was a really good patch. But the new crafting recipes in the intelligence center, excuse me, strep throat is killing me. They added what, 3 new labs key cards that you can craft, like
I
green,
think
red,
two.
and
I
yellow.
think two. Uh,
Because violet was always there, blue was always
yeah,
there,
Violet was
right?
there. I can't remember exactly because I never used them. Like I
Right.
never because the time to do it was ridiculous. It was like 100
Yeah,
plus hours.
that's one of the things they
But you can,
fixed.
yeah, you can
Or
look on the new ones. They're like 12 or like 10 hours or something like that. Or no,
yeah,
they're like 1 hour. I think. I
yeah,
think
they're
they're
a
one
lot
hour.
shorter. They
Um,
are a lot
yeah,
shorter.
but yeah, given
Um,
a way to actually craft key cards like that's usable is a much needed thing because there are some times where it's like you're just gonna have bad RNG and never get one. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you
and
can
not
kill a bunch
everybody's
of
farming
bosses. You
12
can
million rubles to buy that key.
exactly, and it's like you just some people just don't find them.
It does happen. That is true. Plenty of people that we talk to on a regular basis, like, I can never find a key card. Where'd you find that? Blah blah
Right.
blah. And it
And it's like how
requires a
many
little
have
bit of
we
money to
found?
go do all that. Well, that's also because we're
Well,
able to run labs, right?
well, since we learned new spawns too, it's like
Oh,
spawns we
that's
didn't
true. Yeah,
know. Now that
that's
we
true.
know them, we're finding much more. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
places I just didn't know to
yeah,
look.
I find key cards pretty regularly now.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, even early on, you want to go to labs. You just got access to the key card, like the access card. So being able to, well, no, that because it's probably later in the hideout in the intelligence center. So, it's still useful. It's still very useful. Maybe not as early wipe as I was just about to consider, but it's still extremely useful at any point that you get it unlocked. Being able to craft those key cards, you can either A, farm up some money with it, especially if you already have the items to craft it. B, you can get yourself into the labs, go to those rooms, farm up that loot. So that's cool. It's a good ad, especially unlike Violet, which is 100 and some hours to craft. These are quick and easy to do. They also added an SMT craft, SAS drive craft. I saw it was like a handful of barter items and some hideout stuff. Like
Yeah,
there are
yeah, a
some
bunch of
really
stuff.
good, yeah, really good ads in the intelligence center now. You
There's
can craft a lot of cool
definitely,
stuff.
yeah, definitely some useful crafts now. Because intelligence used to be like you did it for like missions that you had or for traders that you had to have at a certain level. That was
Yeah,
really it.
yeah.
Once you did it, you didn't really.
They also went through and buffed cash registers and safes. Your amount of money you can carry in raid now is higher, found in raid cash, anyways. You can't take in more than
Um,
500K, but you can carry out more, I think.
real quick, it was only green and red. We're at it. Green and red.
Okay. Still, those are 2 really
Yeah,
good key
still.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so and they're fast crafts, which is cool.
They're 16-hour crafts, 16-hour.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah.
But then so they the buff cash registers and safes. Safes can be loaded with cash now. Cash registers can be loaded with cash. A scav that you kill, if he has a wallet, check it. It's probably loaded with cash.
Yeah.
As well as just having loose cash on him. It's in a larger amount. You can do like actual cash runs and make 1,000,000 rubles a raid or more.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
seen
can
Landmark
crush
get
it,
a
dude. You can
million.
absolutely crush it.
He
Especially on
went
like
to
interchange.
interchange.
Yeah, hit
Yeah.
all the cash registers, the
Yeah.
locked ones, get the key or the key
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, you can make bank now, and that's cool. It's cool to see a viable way of gathering cash instead of just having to like go farm items and go grab this, that, and the
Right.
other, and like it's
Yeah,
just
because I
handy.
always wondered. I was like, why even loot
Cash
2,000
registers,
rubles? Yeah,
right?
it's like, oh wow, I made 2,000, 3,000 rubles. It's like, yeah, if you have a docs case or a sit case, yeah, just
Yeah, it
toss
just
it in
stacks
there, and
up.
over
Yeah,
time it adds up. But it's like you would never go in raid specifically to loot money, and
no,
it's like now you can. Now you can actually find one of those cash register keys, and you can just
get rich.
farm 1,000,000 rubles,
Yeah,
in raid, which
yeah,
is nuts.
and it's Jesus. it's it's nice that they added a way to cut out the hassle of being like, okay, I got to go find Intel folders, go sell them on the market, make a few 100K at that, go back in raid, hopefully find some shit to make a few 100,000 rubles. Now it's just like, okay, I can just kill shit, loot cash registers, hit a couple safes maybe, but mainly cash registers, and I can make a lot of money. Like that's nice because there's
What?
times that I don't want to have to sell all my items. There's times I don't want to have to sit there and manipulate or not manipulate, but work the flea market. Like list these 5 items, list these 20 fucking things, list these 3 things, list this one thing. Like there's times that's just inconvenient. So if I can just go make $10 million rubles in a day of just running interchange and hitting cash registers, hell yeah, I'm all for
Yeah,
it.
it makes the key valuable. It makes the map more alive, more people going. Like
Yeah,
it's just positives all around. And I think just looking at these changes, a lot of these changes are because of the point that we're at, where we're getting close to 1.0, but it's also because of the Tarkov community. Because
yeah.
a lot of this stuff
Huge
is
shout
from
out yet again.
request. Yeah, is from requests from players and people upvoting the things that are good and people agree with, and it's like it's stuff that's BSG. They look at it, and if they agree with it, it's getting implemented like quickly, like fast. And
Yeah, they are
I
on
just feel
top
like
of it.
a lot of these changes are just they're what the game's needed for a long time. And this is like Battle State's way of being like, all right, before we launch it, let's get all these smaller things that people have complained about for years or people have asked for years. Let's get them in the game. And it just the speed they're doing it, the stuff that they are putting in is all good things. It's stuff that I haven't really disagreed with anything that I can think of. Um, it's just awesome to see. It's such a new thing for Tarkov, for things to be talked about and added within days. It's just
Yeah,
never been like that before. The fact
yeah,
that's where we're at right now is just it's awesome, and that's credit to BSG for even giving us the ability to do this. Like it's just a great way to get the game ready for 1.0.
right. It is, and it's a great way to keep issues that need to be fixed. And
Yeah.
also just find cool stuff like this guy. It's been started. Remove quick grenade throw for AI/aimbot grenades. Me and
Yep.
Middle were running Ground Zero at the start of the event, and back to back to back, 3 raids, flawless grenades dropped right on top of us, just like as quick as could be too. Like we'd see the enemy, I'd be like, oh shit, they're there. We'd get ready to fight, and then boom, we're dead. And it's just like
Yeah.
okay. And like this guy points out, if you watch them throw it, and I have footage of it as well, I might send for this clip specifically. I had a grenade come out of a scav's asshole. He literally was facing away from me, crouched down, and he throws the grenade from under his legs or somewhere. It came from behind. Like he was facing away from me and he lobbed a grenade and it landed right on top of me, right? And it's just like, what do you do in that situation? There's no time to run away from that. Not a perfectly thrown nade, um, especially not like the Volk 17s or the F1s and stuff like that. The short fuse times by the time they hit you. And another issue that was happening, which I do believe is fixed now, is the silent grenade throw. So there were a few things that were causing major issues
Right.
with AI throwing grenades. But yeah, it's already started. They're
Just
working on it. They're fixing it. It's like, okay, we didn't realize that was happening, or whatever the excuse may be or reason may be. But we're on it. Like, and to see the turnaround time and things happen just like because they are important and because they need to be
right.
happen is one thing. But to see it done so quickly and the attention to it, just like, hey, yeah, we see it. It's not anything we originally planned to fix. This one probably is, but like there are some,
Right.
like increased scavs at old gas. That's more accurate to what we're talking about at the moment. But to be like, okay, that's kind of irrelevant to what's happening. Like, sure, it slows down your task progress, but they still spawn there. Like, chill out. This is what the answer could
Right.
have
There's
been.
more
Or like,
important things. Yeah.
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 But instead, they're like, oh, you guys are having a hard time with that. All right, we can add a few more scav spawns. That's no problem. You know what I mean? Like, cool. The interaction between the developers and the community and bringing it all together to just function quickly and accurately
Yeah.
is awesome.
Well, just how receptive they've been to quality of life changes that people have been
Yeah,
asking for. Like that's what
the
is
key
just like
case.
that's what I'm so happy about. Yeah. Because almost everything as far as AI, like the way AI act, the way they do things, such as the grenade throw, such as them shooting full auto through bushes, like
Right.
all that stuff's getting tackled through this. Like stuff
Yeah.
that's been that
No
way
more
in Tarkov for
spin looting
years.
scavs, things like that. Like
Yeah,
minor
things
things
we've
that
had
can
for
be fixed.
years and people
Yeah.
complaining, and it's now getting fixed within a week of people mentioning it. The devs are picking it up and working on it and getting it fixed,
Another
and it's
minute
just
thing that
it's
could be pushed off until they wanted to fix it is, when you turn on, especially with the MP7 and some other guns, you turn on your flashlight, you see your shadow of your barrel, right? And it's like,
right,
okay, can that be fixed? And they're like, yeah, yeah, that's fine, we can fix that. Like, and they're not prioritizing like, oh well, this is more important than this. Like, I'm sure they are to a degree, but at the same time, like the fact that they're just like you said, going out of their way and doing it it's awesome. It's cool.
yeah. I feel like as a studio, they kind of sat down and were like, okay, we're approaching 1.0. Let's get a way to interact with the community and find out what people really want fixed the most before we drop. Find out the things that are bothering people, because when we do drop, we don't want those things in there. So I feel like
Right.
that's where they're at right now. They're like, let's get those little things, quote unquote, little things, because to some people they're not little things, but get the things that people complain about the most. Let's get those fixed. And it's like, I thought it was cool when I seen them doing it, but now seeing the amount of things they're doing it for,
Right.
like even things that only affect a few people, they're looking into and at least giving you an answer on,
Yeah.
which before you would never get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's and some things that people didn't know about, they're letting you know, hey, that's working as intended. Like that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And it gets rid of the questions and just the
Yeah, that's
unanswered.
clarity.
Yeah, the clarity. That's the perfect word for it, really.
Yeah,
Clarity
it
on
does. It
everything
adds
they're doing
clarity
right now.
to exactly. And if it's
Yeah,
something like you
it's
said,
just
it's something that's intended, we don't have to question if it's intended or not. Or like, are they supposed to do what the
right,
fuck? This is broken. Like, yeah, it's broken. Good luck. Like it's meant to be whatever.
right.
Um and they've tried things like this in the past, with the Reddit and other things, other outlets of communication, but this is so well done. It's essentially Reddit, right? Like it's got the upvote system, you can comment on it, you can, it's
Yeah,
essentially a Reddit thread. But it's based off the Discord, which is cool. So like you have
yeah,
to use your
yeah.
Discord to log in. So if you've been banned or you're an asshole, they know it. And then
Right.
also the community has a lot to say in whether a post is relevant or not. Like this one idiot posted, can we get an event calendar for BSG so we know what conventions they're going to? That got a neg one vote on it, and it just got pushed down to the bottom, and nobody will see it, and it's not relevant. So see you.
Yeah, who would ask for that?
Yeah, like it's stupid. Nobody
um,
cares.
but yeah, it's almost like having a new place to interact is almost uh it's probably the best way to do it, because you don't have the people like on Reddit or the people on Discord that have been in those Discords and those Reddits for years and years and years,
Right.
they're not getting the questions asked to them. It's only people who are like in the Tarkov community right now, because you have to sign up for it. You
Yeah.
have to know that it's happening. So it's like it brings an audience that are in the game or in the community right now. So people that have been, out of the game for years and years, they have no say, because you're more than likely not going to join this Tarkov community if you don't play Tarkov. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's some obviously that come in and
Yeah.
just troll, but majority of it's going to be players that are actively playing the game and actively caring about the game and the condition it's going to be in.
Yeah. Well, and again, those people that come in just to troll, even if they have 10 of their friends come in and say, yeah, upvote, the mass majority is going to downvote it, and they're going to be like, no, this is stupid, you're stupid, so it's like,
well, and the cool thing about that, I've also seen even certain things that don't get a lot of upvotes, if it's something BSG is considering, they'll still answer it.
Yeah,
they'll
absolutely.
still let you know. Like even if you only have 4 or 5 upvotes, they'll still address it, which is it lets you know that they're taking everything into consideration.
There's one with
and
only
all this
60
is before
upvotes.
1.0.
It's planned. Yeah, this is all leading into.
Well, because I think there's going to be a lot of big changes at 1.0.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of stuff that they're not going to do right now because they're saving it for 1.0. But I think, like I said, this is majority quality of life. Just little things that bug players or that make the game agitating at times. Things like that. That's what this seems to be a fix for. What was you saying? It had how many upvotes?
There was just one with 60 upvotes that was already planned. And if I recall, I was looking for that post specifically. I think it got the planned status at like 30 upvotes or something like that. So yeah, you don't have to hit crazy amounts of numbers to get your post seen and to be heard on this site either. Because that's the other thing. You can do it by relevancy. You can do it by what's the word? Date released. Fucking. You can do it by like newest, oldest, last 24 hours, last week. Like you can filter what you see and how you see it. So don't think that just because only 15 people upvoted your stuff, that means that BSG isn't going to see your suggestion, even if it's like the best thing it could possibly happen. It's not going to, if it's something that has to be done and it's not getting a lot of attention, it'll still be seen, which is nice. It's good to know that
there's relevance to it. It'll get noticed.
Right. Yeah. Even if it's not the most popular suggestion, because some of these things that you see when you first click on here are going to have thousands of upvotes, and it's going to look overwhelming and things. It's like, oh, how am I ever going to break into that? But if you just filter by date and then by uploaded in the last 24 hours, they can see everything on a day-to-day basis. So know that you are getting a good opportunity at having your issue or the thing that you think needs to be done seen. So
yeah, they got
if
people
you have a good
opinion,
everything. Yeah, your voice will be heard, which is awesome. And how often does that actually happen? Anybody, your voice is
never
heard, right? Yeah. If you got something to say and it's relevant, it'll be heard. So yeah, that's cool. Well, and that's really cool.
At the end of it, the speed at which they're doing the updates, like for things they do agree to do, it's like they're starting work on it, and it feels like within a week they're in the game now. It was just it's crazy.
Well, let's talk about another little thing they did, which is kind of like a little monthly roundup, right? The community digest.
Yeah.
So on Twitter, and I think what the plan was to have it posted on the launcher. That might not be accurate. Ignore that. But yeah, so
someone did mention that. Someone did mention it wasn't BSG. It was someone who had they had said this would be a cool thing to have on the launcher that we could just click on. And one of the BSG people, I can't remember who it was, said planned or something like that. So
yeah.
So I think it is planned.
Which it would make sense. You want your active player base to be able to see the news in a quick, updated format that is right there in front of them. And what do you do? First thing you do on when you get on, you go to the launcher. So if they have a tab for the community digest on there, go ahead.
Well, just say the launcher used to link the Twitter, and basically when you hit the launcher, you had all the latest Twitter news. Well, now it doesn't. At least I don't think it does. I think it quit working.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
So yeah, so this will be something nice to have in its place that does the same thing. You get the latest news
Yeah,
without having to go online. You don't have to go to a different website. If you don't want to use X, you don't have to use X.
yeah,
Like, you don't want to use Discord, you don't have to use Discord.
yeah.
It's
Everything's
good
just
for
gonna be
people who
right
just
there.
want to play the game. Yeah.
Well, and it links you to, so first thing it'll show you is like community digest, welcome to the community digest, blah blah blah. You get some pinned information. Like currently, it's over 15 updates since this wipe or since the wipe, launch in Latin America, and multiple in-game surveys. Those are the three pinned topics. You can click on those, read information about it. Pretty cool. And then it'll go down to Tarkov.community. It'll show you the planned fixes, the coming in the nearest update fixes, and work done so far. And then it'll move over to a roadmap type of situation where it'll say what's next for Tarkov Arena, and then Escape from Tarkov. And then you have their latest media tab, which will show you any current videos or recent videos they put out, ASMR stuff that they've
Yeah.
been doing, which is really fun to watch and just
Their field
enjoyable.
guides that they
The
put
field guide, yeah, those
on
field guides are
YouTube.
pretty cool. But yeah, like, so any of their active media, you'll have a link to that. So everything Tarkov related that you could want information on is going to be at your fingertips month by month, which is pretty neat. Especially to know that the Tarkov.community thing's there, just having it up so you don't have to always go check the website. Especially like if you're just getting on, you just want to see what's been done. You heard your buddy saying like, "Oh, they fixed this or that." Like, well, now you can check and see if it was actually done.
Yeah.
Um,
And you got everything in one place. So it's like
yeah,
you don't have to go out searching like, oh, I heard this happened, or I heard. You have everything that's happened right here. It shows
yeah,
you the planned stuff, it shows you the coming next, it shows you what we've done so far. It shows you, like you said, the media, you got arena news, you got just
the
regular
roadmap
Tarkov
for
news,
what's
you got
next. Yeah,
what's next. Yeah, you got, just the main big stories throughout Tarkov, all the way down to the smallest little stories, like
yeah,
all in one place.
right there, month by month updates. Perfect. I think it's a really good ad. I genuinely love this idea. I
Well,
wish
it's like,
more games would do this, especially games that have active communities in this regard. But yeah, Tarkov specifically, like this is so good for Tarkov. It
yeah,
just
there's so many things they've done with the Tarkov community, with the community digest. Just they're just
well,
killing it, man, on communication right now. It's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
just beyond what I expected.
And now every player has everything they need to know what's currently going on,
Yeah,
which is nice
yeah. No
because a lot of
guessing.
players aren't going out of their way to look for these things. A lot of players aren't checking Twitter every day or going to Tarkov.community and seeing what's happening and what's popping off. And a lot. I don't
Well,
want to say
and
they
that's
don't
something
care,
I've
but they
seen.
also they just don't really care that much. Like it's they
Well,
just
that's
play the
what I
game.
say. That's something I've seen in a lot of people's chats. Like, on live streams, you'll have a lot of people come in and be like, "Hey, how'd you know that this was happening?" Or how'd you know? And they're like, it's on X, and they're like, "Well, I don't use X,
Yeah.
or I don't, I
Or your
don't go
Bob and your
searching for this and
band
that."
from X.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that's cool.
yeah. So it's like this just gives you a 100% view of everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no questions about it. You get everything, and it's
Right.
you you don't have to search for it. I mean, you search for it once, but you know where it's at.
Well,
It's just
especially if it's
such
on the
a
launcher. If they put this on the
yeah, yeah,
launcher right there in like the
which
left
makes
corner,
sense.
yeah. You can just click it, it pops up a pop up. Like you see this the box of community digest, you click it, it pops up this and it gives you the information. You click play and you're in the game, you know?
Or even a
Uh
link in game, like they do the surveys, like have
that
a community digest. You just tick that
actually,
and
yeah,
bam.
that would be cool. That would be
Yeah,
cool. But yeah, just anytime that BSG is going to continue to add more interaction, more ways for us to stay on top of current news and everything that's happening, I'm all for it. I think it was a great idea. Awesome stuff.
yeah. Keeps
Um,
everybody informed. It leads to just less confusion around certain things that are implemented, things that are planned. Like, it gets rid of a lot of confusion. It gets rid of a lot of uncertainty. You can just look at it and see what it is, know what it is, and not have to worry about it.
yeah, yeah. It does get rid of a lot of that questioning, which is nice.
We also had they updated the boss spawn rate again. We went
Oh yeah,
from,
we can
yeah, all the
talk.
bosses except Killa and Tagila, uh, all the bosses except them two went to 39% spawns. They went to 35.
Right. Um,
So
Did they
Yeah,
adjust partisan anymore? Did he get a increase?
he was not mentioned in the
Because I
he
know
wasn't mentioned and the cultists weren't mentioned.
yeah, I know they lowered partisan spawn rate, which I might make a Tarkov dot community post on this because it is frustrating me. I'm sure it's frustrating you too. I'm on, I think, I want to say 10 and a half weeks or something like that of no partisan, which is absurd. I run the maps that he's on. I should be seeing him, and
Yeah.
we should be seeing him. We just never see him. And we
Nope.
run a lot of separate raids, so it's like doubling down. You know, really, you could say you could double however many raids we've ran each. You know, you could just like say, yeah, well, that's twice that amount because he's seen it and not ran into him just as often. He's had the same issue
Yeah,
I've had, and it's absurd.
it's no joke. Like it's
It's at
been
least 10 weeks.
at least I was gonna say at least 5 months, like 4 to 5 months. Well, okay, maybe not that long. At least 3 months.
At least three, yeah,
At least since the wipe,
yeah,
because I have not seen them. I've seen him one time. So if you add me and you together, me seeing him once, you not seeing him at all, that's 6 months worth of raids
yeah,
between the two of us.
yeah. And we run a lot of
So
raids.
yeah, so something's
Kind of,
wrong.
kind of no life this game. Yeah. So it's great to see the other boss spawns go up, especially later in the wipe as we get further and further in. More players
Right.
want to fight bosses. It makes sense. It's natural
It's
progression
expected.
Of the wipe.
You have
Um,
missions that come up where you need to kill bosses. You have,
yeah,
just late
I still need
game.
to finish Hunter. You know what I mean? I still need 11 kills on Sanitar or Sturman. I just haven't went and done it. I just haven't. Woods is a map
Yeah,
that
I still need a
they
few.
that I think they need to work on a bit. They got to figure something out there because outside of the early tasks, what reason do you have to go to Woods? Lightkeeper sends you there to kill some people, and then you got some BTR stuff you can go do there. But running Woods feels like more of a chore than a raid. He's like, oh well, I got to make my way all the way over here, which I get it. It's Woods. It's meant to be huge, and if anything, I want Woods to be larger. But I would like more opportunity for Sturman to just, you know what? It's not even fix Woods. Woods is fine. Woods is a great map. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that map. I don't want anybody to think otherwise. What I am meaning and want to say here is make Sturman roam the map. At
yeah,
least make him go between Sawmill, Old Sawmill, and New Sawmill.
yeah. Give
But
him a few spawns.
preferably fucking let that man roam like a decent massive radius around Mountain Stash, including the sawmills, and just let him go. Let him and his boys walk around and fuck shit up because that would make
Yeah,
Woods way more interactive.
over by the sunken church, like in that little
Yeah, in the swamp
that
area, the sunken
yeah,
village. Yeah,
where the cultists can spawn. Yeah, it's like put him a spawn there. Like put him a spawn at the old sawmill, new sawmill there. Like
train
there's
yard.
so many spots. But this is also one of those things that it's like, who knows what they have planned?
Right,
Like who
right.
knows? It's very possible they're just holding off on that because it almost feels like they should have did that already, and there must be a reason they haven't. Like we've already seen multiple spawns for other
Other
bosses
bosses. Yeah,
on other maps, yeah, and we've seen roaming bosses now. So it's like they 100% have the ability to do it. There has to be some reason as to why they haven't, and I'm hoping it's that they just have something else planned.
yeah, that would be ideal. And I get it. You don't want Sturman and the goons to either A, roam into each other and fight, or B, roam into each other and group up. Because to me, and I know I'm a masochist, one, and two, I
Right?
want Tarkov to be harder. Kind of plays into issue one. But to me, that sounds like a really fun, interesting, fucking hard fight that would just beat me
Yeah,
down until I figured it out, and I'm
yeah,
for that. I'm okay with that. I enjoy that. But for a lot of players, that sounds like the worst fucking situation that could happen. You've got Sturman and Bird Eye sniping at you while his two guards and Pipe and Jesus, Knight and Pipe are
Big
running you
Bird.
down. Yeah, Big Bird and Loose Pipe are running you down. But no, you got so Sturman's two guards, and you got the Bird Eye. Jesus, you got Knight and Pipe. So you have four beefed up dudes fucking running you down, trying to gun at you with like grenade
That
launchers and
sounds fun.
AKs. That does sound fun though. That does
I
sound
mean,
fun.
anytime I have 4 beefed up dudes coming at me,
Coming at
like
me, yeah.
I'm in.
Unloading on my chest. I
Um,
love it. Yeah, it's my favorite.
but
But
no, what's
no,
crazy
like
is
that
you
would
think
be
about
cool though.
woods. You have the ability already to have Partisan running around, the boys running around, and Sturman. So it's like you already have a lot of boss chances. For some reason, though, it still feels like you don't. And I know with us, it's a lot of it's where we don't see Partisan.
That is a lot of it. I don't
But
see
it's
the
like,
goons very often either. It's very rare that I
yeah,
actually run into the goons.
well, and if we do run into them, it's like they're always up at the tower, like on
Right. Just
Scav
posted up.
camp.
Yeah, scav camp. Yeah.
Yeah, they're always up there, and it's like I just feel like they need. It's got to be some more variety, or just add some more locations. Like maybe that's it. Maybe they just need some more locations because there's too many dead spots on woods. I feel like,
Well,
and it's not.
if the bosses would roam
It's
naturally, then that would be different. Like if the goons were there and Partisan were there more consistently, that would help because
well, that's
Partisan
what I'm
does
saying because
roam.
I feel bad
But
even
if
even saying it because I love
right,
woods.
I do
So it's
too.
like I'm not
Yeah,
trying to like trash it. I'm not trying to say it's bad. I'm just saying it needs something. There's something it needs, especially later on. You
I
know, when you
think
first go, it's fine,
yeah,
but later on in the wipe, there just needs to be a reason.
yeah.
I don't know what that reason is, but I'm hoping they have something planned.
What about something like mountain stash or the top of the mountain where Sniper Scav is? Get rid of Sniper Scav to a degree and make it like one of Sturman's guards or a couple of Sturman's guards are up there and they're snipers, right? Like they're
Right.
pretty hardcore dudes. And then down around the sawmill area to the old sawmill area, Sturman and his guards can roam, and that you've got like this whole side of the front of the mountain that is technically half of the mountain all the way around from
Right.
sawmill to
Right. Technically,
sawmill.
one side, yeah.
Yeah, is this like locked down, hard to penetrate. Like you have to clear those snipers and then find Sturman and deal with them. Like or
Yeah,
even
that
just
would
have
work.
Sturman spawn in those two locations, or like give him an extra location in between there as well,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some
Even if he's
opportunities
not
to spawn in other
roaming,
spots.
just
Yeah,
yeah, having him somewhere else besides the same place that he's been ever since he was introduced in the game.
yeah.
Um, it's just strange because every other boss, they give multiple spawns, and you look at Killa, Tagila, Sanitar, Gluhar, uh, everybody. You know what I mean? Like Rashala,
Everyone except for
um,
Kaban
all of
and
them.
the other guy and Sturman.
Yeah, it's like all of them have varied locations they can be, and it's like I
Well,
feel like
Killa
there's
will
got to be a
roam
reason they
around.
haven't
Killa
done that.
and
Yeah,
Tagila,
Killa and
those
Tagila
guys just
both.
like
Yeah,
they own their area and they work those
yeah.
zones, and that's cool. And I
Even Gluhar to a certain extent kind of roams. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
he's only
depending
got
on
a
where
few
he
places he
spawns, he
goes.
will move around a good bit in
Yeah,
that zone. Yeah.
and Sanitar same way. It's like Sanitar has the village, but then if he's at resort, you never know where he's at in
Yeah,
resort.
he's
Like that's a
anywhere
big
resort.
area.
Yeah, and he's got 3 spawns:
Um,
pier, village, resort.
yeah, Pier also. Yeah, yeah. So it's like I almost feel like there's got to be a reason they haven't did that yet with Sturman.
Well, and like
Um,
you brought up, that is a good point though. Having the goons who kind of roam, but not really, but Partisan who absolutely does. It is a lot, even though the map's so large, because Partisan can be anywhere. So I can kind of see it, but it doesn't make sense
well,
to.
and maybe as they
That's
fine tune
specifically for
that,
roaming though. Like that's if you make Sturman
may,
roam.
well,
If you
and maybe
don't
as
and you
they
just
fine
add
tune that,
locations,
they'll start doing it more for other bosses. Like maybe that's planned. Maybe they, maybe freaking Partisan is like the test bed
possibly, yeah,
for
I
like
can
a
see it.
single boss running around. So, and you got to realize Partisan was just introduced not too long ago. Like this is a
Right.
new thing. Even the boys were recently introduced. Like it's the roaming aspect of any boss is all fairly new. So hopefully they're using it as a test bed to implement for everybody, and eventually you will have to like find every boss because they're not going to have just like one location. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, like if that's where they're headed.
Yeah, it would make sense too. But even if they don't, and Sturman's not allowed to roam, they have to give him more locations.
Yeah,
And if they're not going to give him more locations, they got to like beef up security around that area, put snipers up on the rock. They can actually shoot down the sawmill, put people on top of the buildings, or like something like beef it up a good bit more. Because Sturman just walking over to a bush or behind a barrel or something and just sniping it, like it's just kind of dull and it gets kind of old,
well,
especially
like
considering
we
we got to
talked about
kill him
earlier,
so many times.
with Woods, you also have to remember Woods has a lot of those bunkers, those sealed off bunkers.
Ooh, that's
So
true.
it's like they could play into that some, anywhere, like you could go down a bunker and there's a boss down there, and like they could add some things to Woods to make it way more, rewarding to go there.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a whole lot. That's true. Those bunkers could absolutely be utilized way more than they are, and like we had talked way earlier in this episode, um, we could also see a world where they start to open those bunkers up, and there's more labyrinth type events. I could see different bunkers, or not even necessarily like the labyrinth event, but like the terror group bunkers. I could see a game where we go to woods, we do our thing, and then we progress to a bunker, and we're moving in to fight it. Absolutely, I could see that.
Well, if you remember, Lightkeeper, one of the missions he talks when we have to go to Woods and kill the PMCs. He's talking about that bunker up on Sniper Rock,
Yeah,
and he says like there's something going on there. I can't remember exactly what he said, but like so there's already some lore to that location. There's already something supposedly going on there. So I wouldn't be surprised, to have something pretty cool happen there.
on the task return the favor,
Possibly. I can't remember
it
what task. I just know
says
it was one of them.
it says the whole thing is starting to become clearer. It seems that the customer is not around here. The order came from beyond the border. I have contacts who are willing to assist, but they will need a favor in return. They own a certain, shall we say, facility located in the nature reserve. You can see the facility from everywhere, but nobody has a clue what is hiding under the mountain. If you've been in those places, you must have seen the hill that towers over the entire forest. So, some curious tourists began to flock around that hill, and they are itching to open all the doors they see. As you know, curiosity killed the cat. Do the right thing and get rid of those cats. And while you're there, leave the documents for the youth sex in their camp. Remember, these documents must not fall into the wrong hands. So there is something in the bunkers under the mountain, and the
Yeah.
USEX really want to get in there. And
Well,
I
because
will
if you
point
remember,
out. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say on the opposite side, not even up on Sniper Hill, but if you go, where they added the new location. If you're up on Sniper Hill, you can climb all the way over on like the other side and come down.
Yeah,
That location right there, there's another door right there, just in the side of the mountain. Like it's just a
yeah,
big bunker
yeah.
door.
There's just a
Like
bunker
so,
door.
there's
Yeah,
several doors. Yeah, there's several doors that basically
right.
lead to underneath the mountain
Yeah, so there's the one at Sniper Scab that you actually can walk down in, and there's a little bit of loot that leads you into the bunker. Right.
with
There's the one
cultist
on
symbols all around.
all around. Yeah, there's the one on the right hand side. There's the one that's open that we can walk down in and loot with the new bunker,
Yeah, yeah.
which
It's
isn't
just at the base of the mountain.
necessarily in the mountain. Yeah, but it's at the base for sure. And then
Yeah.
there's the one on the right hand or left hand side, or right? No, right hand side, right?
Depending on both sides technically.
Yeah, either side. Yeah. So there's three doors that we know of that we've visibly seen, that connect the mountain labyrinth area, mountain. What do we call it? Bunkers, I guess. It
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
more in like a little community under the mountain, but a lot of doors that are leading somewhere, right? And it's probably something similar to Labyrinth or Terra Group Labs or something like that, because that's all
Well,
Terra
yeah,
Group
knowing
properties.
BSG,
Yeah.
they're not going to put all that story and all that work into the doors and everything. They're not going to do that unless there's a reason. Like we already started to see that, if they talk about it, it's probably going to happen.
Well, and they added the shoreline bunker door behind Resort over by Car Extract.
Yeah, yep, they did.
They added that. They added
Which is
behind,
also on, a mountain, on the side of a mountain technically.
yeah. There's a couple bunker doors, quite a few bunker doors on reserve. So all the maps are already connected with this underground bunker that Terra Groups has built. So it makes sense. It does. It absolutely makes sense. But I am very
Yeah.
curious to see what happens at the mountain, because there's got to be something there. They don't put all that in there. They don't reference it in task lore and it just in lore in general, and then ignore it entirely. I have a
Right.
feeling, like we said early on, that this new game mode is going to be some kind of like progression through transit type situation, and it's probably going to be like floor by floor or something. I don't want to like speculate and say like that, but like I could
Right.
see it being something like that. We start on woods, clear that area, move to the labyrinth on shoreline, move to the labyrinth here, move to this one, move to that one, move to that one, and you're like getting through all these underground bunkers that way, which is really cool. And it would be really cool if they were to do that, and it kind of fits with the labyrinth that they just added, but again, it's BSG, and it's according to the lore and everything. Terror Group had a bunker for everything, so it's hard to tell exactly what they would add or how they would add it. um Granted, the bunker doors on wood seem smaller. There's only the one that's like decent sized. All the other ones are like walked into, like you walk down into the bunker door and then it opens up and you like walk in a hallway. So I don't think it's any kind of depot or anything, or any kind of like mechanic shop or something like that. I would say it would probably be more in line with like the Labyrinth or Terror Group Labs, something in those lines. I would say, based off of where it's at and what it is, probably weapon testing of some sort, but who knows, right? Like
Yeah, sky's
you
the
could
limit, really.
speculate
You know.
anything on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it is cool. It is cool to just, again, I know we said this a little bit ago, but it's cool to be able to like start attempting to connect any dots at all, right? The fact that we know from story purposes and then seeing the things in game, it's like we know Terror Group has something behind these doors, but what,
Well,
right?
it just it adds to the just the overall atmosphere of the game. Like to know that everything you see, there's a reason that it's there. Like knowing that stuff, isn't just put up on a whim. Like they decided this looked cool, that looked cool.
Right.
Like being able to go places and find things and be like, hey, wait a minute, like that actually means something. And knowing that it does, because that's the only way they do it, is if something actually matters or it
Right.
actually goes with the storyline. Like it's just so cool because it just makes the world feel like mysterious. Like there's
Yeah,
things
it
still
adds
to
a lot of
be
mystery to it,
discovered.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, I'm confident with their uh direction that it's all for a reason. Like there's actually something happening. I believe when they put something, it's there for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Another thing that I did forget to bring up about Labyrinth is there are cameras in the corners of the rooms, up in the ceilings
Yeah.
most of the time. There are cameras everywhere. So whatever it is, for whatever purpose that they did it, Terror Group is watching us do this. I assume it's Terror Group. I know that camera system is tied into a network of people using it. I know it's a main
Yeah, what was
it's Terror Group's main
that company
network.
called?
Nosos.
Start with a K. No, yeah.
Nosos. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of work. Like there's a lot of story down there in
Yeah.
the labyrinth. Like you
Oh
see a
yeah.
lot of stuff that's like, okay, there's a lot going on here.
But yeah, so we know Terror Group watches those. We know that USEC keeps an eye on them, Bear keeps an eye on them, and that's about as far as that goes. I think cultists watch them as well. Like everyone has access to those cameras, so we don't know exactly who's watching, but I think it's pretty safe to assume Terror Group is testing how this geeked Tagila and Killa situation are, or just seeing how players are, like whatever their in-game story reason may be. But it's
Right.
like there's cameras that they didn't have to add those cameras to get the story across, but adding those cameras in those corners helps kind of paint the picture of what's happening, like what's going on. Or
Yeah.
this isn't an accident that we found this. This
There's a
isn't.
story behind that. There's a story.
Yeah,
Them adding
yeah,
cameras has a story behind it. Like
yeah,
that's just how deep everything goes on their design. Like
yeah.
it's so
The
cool.
depth of
It really
Tarkov
is.
is
Yeah,
insane. It's so cool. I
it
say it all
is.
the
It
time,
really
and I'll
is.
always say it because it's just the not the
Well,
most in-depth like story-driven game I've ever played, but for a shooter that I'm just extracting with loot and trying to like get thick and like make money and level up, the fact that
yeah.
there's such a well-written, in-depth, good story there is just phenomenal. It takes the cake.
Well, and knowing that I would say half or maybe more of your player base are never going to pay attention to any of those things, but yet you still do it. You still make sure it's right. You still make sure everything connects. It's like putting that much effort into stuff that most people could care less about. It's like you're not going to get gratification for it. No one's going to give you an award for going this deep, but it's like
Right.
you're still doing it. You know what I mean? It's like it shows just like I said before,
The
it just
level of
shows
commitment.
a level of passion and commitment
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is rare. It's very rare in
Absolutely.
gaming, in development, in period. You know what I mean? Even in movies, like no matter what, even just storytelling, like it all just it's all coming from a studio that I feel like they're the only ones who could really pull something like this off. At
Yeah,
least
we've
right
said
now
that
that I
before
can think
too,
of.
but it is so fucking
Yeah,
true. They have
it's
the
true. Yeah,
drive, the passion, they have the
they're
resolve
the
to
right
stick to
people
their
for the job.
guns. Yeah, they are the team to make this happen. And
Well, and when you have a lead dev like Nikita who goes on Twitter and responds to people with this line right here, "Eat a bag of dicks,"
yeah, yeah, fuck
like
you, guy.
that's the guy you want. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
he's
because
they're
that's
building the
just
game they want the way they want,
he don't
and
care. Yeah, he
yeah,
does not care.
and yeah, to say they don't care is one thing, but it's like they don't care about the haters. They don't care about the bullshit. They
Yeah,
don't care about the nonsense that people spew out because it's just that
they have a
nonsense.
vision,
Their
and
game
that
speaks
vision
for
is the only thing
itself.
that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the vision is
all
coming to
this.
fruition, and the game is cooking. Right, like
Yeah.
it's moving right along the way it should be. It is right on track. I think it's yeah. Couldn't ask for a better developing team to put this together. And yeah, like you just said, better lead dev. Like there is none.
Well, we've been doing these talking Tarkovs for a while. I think we're on what number 20,
25, 27,
25,
28.
I think.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Anyways,
we've
we've
done a
been
few
doing
of
these
them.
for a long time, and we've had a lot of them where we've complimented BSG. We've had some where we've criticized them for things they deserve criticism over. Um, but it's like all those times that I've had faith in them and, pretty much trusted them with this game and where the direction was going. It's like, I just feel like right now in this moment, it's paying off more than ever because I can see the vision. I can see the game, the direction. I can see the fact that they're not backing down. They're still going full force. Like they're still committing everything they can and dedicating all their time and work into providing a product that was promised. It's like
Yeah,
I just feel like right now I am the most confident I've ever been in the fact that this is, going to work out as, what I hoped it would be. And I'm not surprised, but at the same time I'm kind of like they've exceeded my expectations in some ways.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they've gone above and beyond, and I had high expectations. I've always kind of kept BSG on a pedestal because they've done pretty good about sticking to their guns and things. So like,
Yeah.
but they always come above and beyond the expectations. Like they're obviously with like, oh, I expect server fixes, I expect this, I expect that. Like those things, obviously, yeah. But I'm talking about like just game delivery. They have always gone above and beyond what I expected from them, and yeah, it's awesome. It's great to see.
Well, it's like with our amount of trust and faith that we've put in BSG, because I mean, let's be honest, not many people do that. Not many
Right.
people have faith in them, and as much as we've like publicly put out there, even knowing that it's probably going to cause negativity for us, even for our channel, even it's like
Right.
the fact we've stuck with it and they're still sticking by their word. It feels good to see it kind of all come like full circle, because I feel like that's where we're headed. It's like
Yeah, absolutely.
more people are starting to see the work, and like I just feel like it wasn't for nothing. Like we were on the right track as far as trusting them and just giving them time, and it feels like it was the right way to go about it. And
Yeah,
I knew
absolutely it
that,
was.
but at the same time, it's like I said, it's kind of like they've surprised me by how great they've been as of late, just with all the new changes, all the communication. Like they didn't have to do all that stuff. They could have still just been working on the game in the background and waited for that stuff later, and I wouldn't have been mad at them.
No,
But
yeah.
at the same time, it's like they've went above and beyond, what I expected, and I feel like
It's hard not to
I've given them
appreciate
so
it.
many props. But it's like, yeah, I feel like now it's all deserved.
It's
There's
time
no
to give them
question
more
that,
props. Yeah. Like,
yeah,
if
yeah,
anything, we need to give them more props. Like they're killing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're at that point where it's just like they're killing it, man.
Yeah, they really are. They're doing the best work that we could ask for. Like as like we said about expectations, you know, they meet and exceed them almost every time.
Well, and I'm
I don't.
starting to see a shift too. I'm starting to see a shift in the community. A lot of praise going their way. A lot of
Yeah,
people in the
yeah,
comments being like, "Hey, screw anybody who doesn't say it, but thank you for this game. Thank you for your work."
right.
Like I'm seeing that more and more now too. So, and I
It's
think
good to see.
eventually
It's
that'll
nice to see.
be
That'll be the norm.
once
Yeah,
once the 1.0 and most of the game's done and everybody it's kind of given their real opinion. I feel like most people are gonna appreciate this time we've had to spend with this game, Escape from Tarkov, because
yeah. Well, and
it's
that's
once in a lifetime, for me,
yeah.
game wise.
And I just wanted to take a second and point that out too. We are extremely lucky to have been able to play through the building of this game.
Yeah,
We, I don't want to say we, a lot of the community has given them so much shit along the way instead of just being in the moment, enjoying the ride, and just like taking it all in because we're not going to get this again. There will never be another beta like
no,
this. You know, like it
no,
just won't happen. Uh, so I feel because they've always went in the right direction. They've always made progress on the game, and they've always done right by me, in my opinion. Um, it's I feel lucky to have been able to be part of this whole thing from the start. I think that's the coolest aspect of it is the fact that I didn't have to
absolutely.
wait until 1.0 came out and then start checking out Tarkov. I didn't, have to wait on this build to come out and then never get to see it. Like we got to be part of the experience from start to finish, and that is really really cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's easy to get caught up in the moment of now, but just kind of take a step back and just look at it all as from start to finish. Even not though we're not finished, but we're getting closer.
right,
Just like
right.
look at it
It's
from
getting there.
then
Yeah,
to now and tell me how
yeah,
you're still mad at the company. It just doesn't make sense.
you're right.
They've gone above and beyond every time, and
Well, and just
we've gotten something awesome for it.
the communities that have been built from it, the our channel, that's part of it. Is if it wasn't Tarkov, then that's what our channel's centered on.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
but even the Discord, the people that come in, like all the new people that come in and run raids with you, and it's like all that stuff's from Tarkov. It's
yeah.
just amazing. Like yeah, and I understand it's it's not like, oh wow, that's something new. Like a lot of games have done that. A lot of games have that. But for me, I appreciate Tarkov in a way I've never appreciated another game. It just hits me differently than other games.
Agreed. Yeah.
And yeah, and I just feel like, I'm not
So
disappointed that this is the game that I got stuck with. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy
right.
this
Yeah.
is the one that, that really got me.
I put more time into Destiny 1 than I did this game. I played Destiny 1 the way top tier Chad plays Tarkov now, right? Like I was that guy. I
Right.
was doing all the things.
Competitive.
I was a
Yeah.
raid Sherpa. I was doing stuff. And I had thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in the game. And I loved Destiny 1. But it incomparable how I feel about Tarkov versus how I felt about Destiny 1. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was my game. That was my go-to throughout all the time. And no matter what, Destiny 1 was it. Now comparing it to Tarkov and like how Tarkov has impacted me and like just the gameplay and just everything about it, the story, the communities, everything that's come from it, and just what it is and what it's going to be. Yeah, it is for whatever reason so much more impactful than any other game I've ever played. The Tarkov is the game of games for me.
Yeah. Well, and
And
not that
that
they're Destiny under the bus, but that's a good game to look at when you look at like the monetization model, like how it ended up, how they
yeah.
ended up with a
Yeah.
Destiny 2 within just a couple years later, like, and then all the DLC you would have to buy, like, and then it goes free to play, and like, it just shows you like game. It's so easy for games to get caught up in the money situation to where it can affect the product.
Yeah.
And Destiny's still a hugely popular game, still the one of the most played games um, in the world right now. But it just, I feel like you can look at the two games and you can see a big difference as far as like what the developers, what vision they went with and stuck with versus one that tried to like jump on the money making train. You know what I mean? Like like I said, not because it's not just Destiny
No,
by
it's
any
not
means.
just
You know,
Destiny, but that is
that's
a good way
gaming
to
in
look at it
general.
because
Yeah,
Destiny
yeah,
1
that's
started
gaming in
off
general.
building something great for their community, and
Yeah,
then first chance they had to really start making money, they jumped on it.
yeah,
And now
yeah.
Destiny 2 is a free to play, overly monetized battle pass system that has a new DLC every 3 months that you have to pay hundreds of dollars for. Like, it's insane.
Yep.
If I wanted
Yep.
to go back and start playing Destiny 2 right now, which I have no want to do because they've ruined any idea of what Destiny
Right.
was. Um
If you don't spend a bunch of money, you're
yeah, it's I
screwed.
there's content that I am locked out of because I didn't spend the $30 to get the dungeon key, right? Like, that's fucking stupid. And if people want to play that way and pay money for that kind of thing, that's perfectly fine. But I am much happier to have spent the money I've spent on Tarkov, and and the results I've gotten from that. And that's the way
Yeah,
that gaming should be. Tarkov is the right monetization model. And sure, they probably make less money than they could be making, but they also have
definitely,
built
definitely.
something that their community cares far more for. They've also built something that people have high expectations of, and they've built something that is kind of its own pedigree in the gaming industry right now. So
A lot of these updates, a lot of the content, a lot of the guns could all been packaged as seasons. Could all been packaged in battle passes. Like
$5 a
Tarkov could have
pop for
did
each
that.
one of those guns, dude.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
for the new Labyrinth event, like that could have been the next season, season 4, Reloaded. Like
Yeah.
that could have been something you had to buy. Like that's
$30,
just the
get your
way
keys.
gaming
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
they could have did that. They could have, and they
This is a
still would have been
free event
successful.
for us.
Yes, all this is stuff that we paid one time for. Like
Yeah.
everything we've had is a one time fee, and yes, that fee was high.
And it's a
Like it was.
yeah, but
But when
it's
you look
worth
at
it.
the amount of time and you look at the years, it's not high
Yeah,
because
it's
you're
not.
talking nowadays games. You're looking at GTA 6 is probably going to come out as $100 game. You look at all new games are $70 now, like on console. You know, that's every year you're paying that for a game. Like
That's if you're
Tarkov
lucky to
has
only
been,
buy one game a year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you
Tarkov
even
makes it so
find a
I
game
don't
that you
even
can play
buy
that
other
long,
games, right?
exactly. And we've been playing it for going on 9 years, and it's like you look at 9 years, even say you spent $20 every year, you know, that's $180 right there. Like, it's just the money seems a lot when you look at it as a one time purchase, but when you look at what you got out of it,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a bargain, dude.
it is. It's such a good deal. And it's a game that evolves with you and has added more content, added new guns, added things for you to do. You know, the residential room, labyrinth, those are permanent ads. You know, those are things that they could, like Adam said, absolutely have just sold to us. You know, so
Yeah.
it's really easy again to get caught up in the now, but you really need to take a step back and just look at it start to finish, how it all come together, how it all is, and what it's all turning into. There's so much depth in every aspect of Tarkov, not just gameplay. And there's so much compassion. There's so much passion in every aspect of Tarkov, not just gameplay. It's cool. It's really awesome. And I think we are all very lucky to have such a really great development team, awesome lead dev, and just amazing game to have at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it really is. And I
so
feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't take the time to sit back and think about it sometimes, because you're doing BSG a disservice because they've done this for us. The least we can do is recognize the good they've done. Um, because man, like there's so much stuff that could have been monetized. Red key cards, like you can get a red
oh
key
yeah,
card $3.99. Like you know
right.
what I mean. You look at the games that have tried to compete with Tarkov, they've went free to play, but then they've also give you the ability to buy everything with real money. It's
Yeah,
like there's just that is a real thing that we avoided because of who the developer is. Like having BSG behind this game is the only reason the game is what it is right now, because anybody else in the gaming industry with this type of game, with this, you know, live service game, it would have been like completely different. It would have been, everything would have been monetized, because that's why people make games, or to make money. This company seems to be making this game out of a passion.
yeah,
Yes, they need to make money to keep going, so there are going to be monetization, but it's the game isn't for the money. You can see that.
yeah, absolutely. So if you guys have made it this far, what I would like for you to do is take a minute, think about when you first started playing Tarkov, and just come up with something that you genuinely appreciate about Tarkov. You know, like what is it that drew you to the game, or what is it that keeps you playing the game? And let us know down in the comments below what it is about Tarkov that just keeps you coming back, keeps you wanting more, and keeps you excited. I think that covers everything, right? Are we good to outro?
Pretty much. I do want to say one more thing, just because you always have to. There are still problems. Cheaters are a big problem in PvP. Um, Gaming in general, any kind of competitive gaming, any kind of PvP gaming, that's just a problem that comes along with having a game. In my opinion, they are doing the best to their ability of dealing with it. I feel like we're probably going to see new things happen once 1.0 hits. I would imagine they got some things they're working on to combat that. Um, but even taking all that into consideration, I know Tarkov's not a perfect game, and I think we explain it well when we talk about what we appreciate. It's not that we look past anything. It's not that we give them a pass on everything. It's what they've done, the things they could have done. That's the reason I give them the benefit of the doubt. Is
Yeah.
because they've given me reason to. They've given me reason to believe in their vision and the way the decisions they've made have been pro consumer 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't really change much about, what I say, because I'm not doing it, I'm not looking past things. I see what they're trying to do, and I believe that they have good intentions. I don't think they're doing anything negative on purpose. I don't think they're giving cheaters like an easy way to just stay in the game and keep playing and make everybody else's raids miserable. I don't believe that they are doing that. I believe they're passionate. I believe they love their game, and I believe they're trying to make the best game they can make. Um, but I just want to put it out there because I know people, they always be like, yeah, well, what about the cheaters? What about the stuff they do that's bad? It's like we recognize that. We know that. We played Tarkov forever. Like we have way more hours in PvP than we have in PvE. So
Oh
it's like
yeah.
we've witnessed it. We've played it. We've been there. And if you're still here watching Tarkov videos and you're still into Tarkov, like that's where we are. Like it wasn't enough for us to quit the game, and like we obviously still like it. So let's look at what's in front of us, and that's BSG doing an awesome job of trying to make this game great. You know what I mean? Like, don't be negative about it. Understand there's cheaters, but try to look past it. At least that's all you can do. If you dwell on that, then yeah, you're gonna hate it and it's gonna suck. But I'm having fun with it, no matter how many cheaters have been in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I just want to put that out there.
No, you're
I
good.
know
It's true
someone's gonna be
though.
like,
It's
yeah, you're
true. Yeah.
cheaters.
Yeah, but it's true though. It's a fact. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode of Talking Tarkov, leave a like and comment below your thoughts on the current Labyrinth event. We post this podcast every Monday here on YouTube as well as Spotify. Just search Talking Tarkov. We'll catch you next week. See ya.